about starting this brand new series. We just finished up a series all about relationship. And really it was called Change My ... And because each week we talked about something different. Week 1 we talked about marriage, how God can change your marriage. We talked about how God can change your dating. And then we talked about how God can change your parenting. And so we talked about some pretty big subjects. Pretty big topics, if you would, during that series. And then this series is probably going to be, I don't know, I'm hoping it's going to be fun. I'm hoping you're going to learn a lot. I'm hoping that it's going to be one that you leave with a lot of tools. Because I know that I can stand up here and preach all day long, but if you leave with nothing, then I've done nothing. So I'm hoping that at the end of the day, everybody has some tools that you get to leave with and you get to apply them to your life. So I want to start out this morning, and the first thing I want to ask is how many of you all have ever argued about money? Okay. We've got some honest people, and we've got some people that aren't telling the truth. The reason why I know that is because it is actually said that the number one stressor on every individual, at some point in time in their life, the number one stressor in their life for individuals is money. Finances. It's also said that the number one reason in America why marriages don't work out, why they end in divorce, is also because of money. You see, in marriage, and I know we talked about marriage last month, but I'm just going to give you a real big recap. Marriage, real quick, is about 3 things. The 3 biggest things that you can argue about, the 3 biggest things that people get in trouble about, is money, sex, and communication. If you've got those 3 correct, you kind of got a good marriage, right? I think if, now I know there's other things that come to play in marriage. I get it. And I also get arguing about money. I'll give you a little brief history for our marriage. I'm the one that I don't really look at the stuff. I just spend the money. How many of you are that person in your marriage? Or in your life, if you're single, how many of you are that person? You just spend it. I hate to say that, but I am that person. I don't spend it on me, unless it's maybe food out to eat. That's about the only thing that I spend on myself. Now, Whitney, on the other hand, is the one that is checking. The most wonderful thing that they've ever created was an app on your phone where you can check how much money is in your bank account. And I would like to see the number of times that is visited each day by her, because, to the second, she knows how much is in there. I'm like, why? It's not that big of a deal. We've got plenty. We've got money. We've had times in our life where we haven't had money, and God has provided, so why worry about it? And so when we're talking this morning, and really the next 3 weeks, we're going to be kind of diving into that whole idea of money. Of cash, of some people call it the cheese. This morning, I'm going to refer to it as the cake. You see, each month, whether you know it or not, you are blessed with a cake from God. I've got some people that are going to come up and help in just a second. And how many of you would like some cake this morning? That's not what I was hoping for. So this cake is actually going to be handed out. So those that would like some cake better start raising their hands. So with this cake that we get given, see, we are blessed each and every month with a cake. It starts out as a full cake when we get our paycheck. That's the cake that we are blessed with. Am I right? And so, how many of you all know that there's a lot of people in our life that like a piece of the cake? Am I right? And so what happens is when we get given this cake, people want a piece of it. We're going to go through a list of all the people in our life that might want a piece of our cake this morning. We're going to talk about some of the things that take away our cake. And we're going to walk through why exactly we do this. And so don't just think I'm just some random person handing out cake. So if I can, I'm going to get my few people that are going to come up and help me this morning. So what we've got is we've got the first group of people, the first friends, if you would, that come and get our cake. The IRS, right? Our income taxes. That's a pretty big slice. So let's see here. Let's take a pretty good chunk. So, hey, whoever gets this piece is going to have a lot of cake to eat. Miss Brittany, find us a wonderful person that is maybe a couple people. Because that's a big enough piece for people to share. There you go. Somebody gets some cake from the IRS. Next is not only IRS, but we have county taxes. You know, property taxes, real estate taxes. That's a little bit smaller, and I get it. So maybe we'll cut that in half. That's a decent size piece of cake. Nothing huge that gets taken, but a little bit. Here you go. Claire, there you go. And then, so then the next one we get is, how many of you all, we're going to be honest, this next month, how many of you all have a home mortgage? I don't know about y'all, but that one's a big slice. So, that home mortgage that we have to have, I mean, we have to have a place to live, am I right? And so, that's a pretty big slice of cake as well. That can be shared as well. Josh, thank you. And then, because we have a house, we have to have insurance on that house. But we also have, so we have homeowners insurance, we've got car insurance, we've got life insurance, we've got health insurance, and I don't know if y'all have ever tried to buy health insurance, but that's expensive. And so all of those insurances that we have to have, especially, insurance is nice, right? Well, sometimes insurance, you go, why do we have to have this? Well, when you need it, you're glad you have it. So, obviously, that's got to be a slice of the cake as well. So there's another piece. Then let me see here. What else do we got? We have, because you have to have car insurance, you must have had to have a car. How many of you all have a certain car that you all want? I know for me, I've got the car and it's specific. Y'all want to know what it is? I'll take one of two cars. I would take a brand new GMC Denali, full out, or a Ford F-250, probably King Ranch Edition, might as well. If you're going to have one, you might as well have the best, am I right? So because of that, you've got that car payment, and man, I get it. You let your wives have the very nice car payment because you're nice. So that's the big one, and that's a big slice of cake that takes away each month is car payment. So there you go. And then because you let him or her, whichever one gets the nicer car payment, you have just a smaller car payment, but you don't feel as bad because you're doing the favor of allowing the nicer car to go to your person that you're in the relationship with. So, but you've still got another car payment because you've got two people, so you have to have two cars, and that's just a little bit smaller slice because you're nice. That still takes away part of the cake. Then, let's see, what else do we have? We have car payments. We have bills for that house that we have, am I right? We have electricity, we have gas, we have water, we have trash. Maybe some of you are lucky enough that you have internet at your house. So that's all part of the bills that we get to pay. So we cut another slice of the cake, and people get to take more money from us each month. We're going to keep on going down through this list. We've got, because of all the cake that you've just now eaten, you have that gym membership that you get to have. Now, we know that no one wants to give too much money to that, so that's a real little slice. Well, maybe a little bit bigger than that. So there's a real little slice for the gym membership because no one wants to pay for that. We all know that. And just a little bit. You can't feel too bad about the gym membership, but it's got to be there because that cake is just so good. how many of y'all in here have a phone? Okay. I know a lot of y'all that didn't raise your hands have a phone. So you've got Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile are some of the big ones, but I know all of them like a slice of the cake. So they take their slice of the cake. And I don't know if you've looked up phone, like maybe you're paying one. It's crazy. For 2 phones, I cannot get over how much we spend each month on a lousy phone that hardly works. And so we have that. Phone bill goes right out the door. Then you've got, how many of y'all have kids? I mean, the kids, they have to have some cake. Right? We've got, I'm just thinking of some things in our life and things in my life where kids take some of the cake. Medical bills at the wrong time of the month. You've got medical bills. You've got, how many of your kids have ever had to have braces? And that's not cheap. And then how many of your kids are involved in sports? Okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Bats and gloves, they cost. Maybe the team costs to be on. Maybe you've got shoes, you've got cleats, all of that. So the kids take a slice of the cake. And they don't mean to take a slice of the cake, they just naturally take a slice of the cake. Because they're kids, and that's what kids do. They like cake. And so now we've worked our way down to kids. But because of kids, and because we have a family, I have this wonderful thing called grocery bills. Oh, I talked about somebody about that this morning. I don't know if y'all bought groceries lately, but they've gone up. And now our grocery bill isn't just a little bill, it's a pretty big bill. But look, our month is going away really quick. So any bit hurts. Ouch. That's not very nice. The man at the grocery store. So that takes away. But then because of all this stress, because we're so worried about money and we're so stressed out about money, we say, you know what? You know what I need to take care of my stress? What would really help me is a boat. Oh. But y'all know what a boat stands for, right? About out another 1,000. So because of that boat that you bought, you get some of your cake taken away. I get it. I love going on the boat. I love my parents. I have a bass boat. I get it. I love spending time out on the lake. But it's a part of the slice. It's a part of the cake. And then, now we start thinking about us. We start thinking about the things that we enjoy. We start thinking about something for the future because we've not even put anything away. We've just been handing the stuff out. So we've got retirement that we've got to do. Maybe your job doesn't. So we say, I'm going to, where am I going to flip this in? I got enough right there. I can get mine on that later in life. Man, whoever's getting these last few pieces, they are getting scammed. So you've got retirement. Then, I don't know how many of you all were young and dumb, like Whitney and I. Credit cards. You know, they send those to you, and it's so wonderful. It's free money. And so you use some credit cards, and you get that 5% off if you use a credit card for purchasing the day of. And it's just wonderful. It's, like I said, free money. Well, they want their money back. And so they take a slice. Oh, the cake is really dwindling. And then what we've got, there's credit cards. So I hope you don't have too much credit cards because I didn't leave you enough. And then finally, maybe some of you all have pets. I don't know about you, but I don't like my pets costing a lot. But they do. They have to go to the vet. They have to have food. And their food's not cheap. And mine seems to eat a lot these days. I don't know. So they take some. And then lastly, what's left over, you finally get a little, what's left over, the crumbs. And so that's what you get. Sorry, Brittany. That's what you get. Maybe you're happy that's what you get. I don't know. But, so what ends up happening is, and maybe you're going, this is crazy. Why are you talking about a cake like this and finances? And you've now wasted finances on a cake because I didn't waste them. Y'all get to enjoy the cake. But with this, we get to see there's more month than money. A lot of the times, what we see is that families, individuals, there's a whole lot more month than there is money. You see, most Americans, it's actually said that most Americans spend 125% of their monthly income. You know, I can say this because she's not in here. Whitney last night, I was telling her this. I said, I'm going to talk about this. And I said, did you know that most Americans spend 125% of their income, or their monthly income? She said, that's more than 100, right? Yeah, that's more than 100. That's what I'm saying. I said, how many times do we do it? How many times and it's just the normal stuff. This is stuff that we have to have, right? Insurance, mortgage, bills, groceries, kids. You may not need a boat, you might not need a fancy car, but you think you need them in the moment. And so we see this whole thing taking away, this cake that we have been blessed with. And so what we see is that there's more month than there is money, and then it stresses us out, it makes us concerned, and we get in this argument because there's not enough money, and where did the money go, and what have you done with it, and what have you bought for yourself that I didn't know about? And I'm only talking to myself. Am I? And it's those moments where we start to realize, we're going to have to get into the savings account again this month. And so our savings account doesn't really become, it's not the savings account, it's the emergency account. Hey, I got nothing left. And my kid has to go to the doctor for the second time this month. Or I got nothing left and I blew out my tire on the way home. Those are some things that happen, and it's never fun when it happens. It's never expected when it happens. Those are generally the ones that hurt us the most. But what we end up doing is we get this moment where we come to this realization of, I don't have enough. I don't have enough money left over for the amount of month that we've got. And so what I want to talk about this morning is that weight. Because that's a weight that we have to carry, especially as adults, as parents. We have that weight that we have to carry of going, how are we going to make ends meet each and every month? You see, I believe that he does not want us stressed. I truly believe that. There's nothing in the Bible that leads me to believe that the one thing that he wants for us is to be stressed out. I can't find it. I believe that he wants us to live a life that he has created specifically for us. We're going to talk about that life in just a little bit, but one of the things that Jesus is most famous for, one of his most famous sermons, is called the Sermon on the Mount. How many of you all have ever heard something from the Sermon on the Mount? Perfect. A few of you. If you haven't, you're going to learn something this morning. There's a lot of good stuff. This was Jesus' very first sermons. And what it was is it's Matthew 5, 6, and 7. We're gonna hit in Matthew 6, and then we're gonna hit in Matthew 7, and then so if you have your Bibles, go ahead and turn with me to Matthew. We're gonna get to Matthew 6 and Matthew 7 here in a little bit. But one of the things that he really talks through is what does your life look like, and how should it look like living your life for him? Because we know that there's a huge difference living your life like the world wants you to live it and like he wants you to live your life. Am I right? All right, good. Y'all are with me. So this morning we're going to dive into two things that Jesus teaches us in this Sermon on the Mount about our life. So first thing, worry. You say Jesus teaches us about worry? No, he teaches us how not to have worry. Because you see, there's plenty of times in the Bible where it says that we're not supposed to worry. It says that he doesn't create us with a spirit of fear. That's, in my opinion, worry and fear kind of go hand in hand. Anxiousness goes hand in hand as well. I'm not talking about clinical anxiety. I'm talking about the anxiousness, the worry, the concern, the fear of not having enough. So Matthew 6, verse 25 through 26, and we're going to hop down to 28 through 30. It says, "Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. So don't be concerned about what you're going to eat. Don't be concerned about what you're going to drink. Don't be concerned about what you're going to wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more of value than they? And why, in verse 28 it goes on and it says, and why are you anxious about clothing, considering the lilies of the field, how they grow? They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all of his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? So he's saying, this is the I don't know if you've ever heard of it like this, but he provides for the birds of the air and the lilies of the fields. He dresses them, he clothes them, and he provides for the birds. So why would he not provide for you? Why wouldn't he? Because he does. That's the problem. He provides it for us. He gives us the cake. But then he says, you've got to do something with the cake. And so this is where we get to have that moment of trying to figure out what exactly this looks like. You see, Jesus doesn't call us to worry because worry is connected to this other thing called doubt. When we start to worry, we start to doubt that God isn't good enough, that God hasn't blessed us enough, that God hasn't given us enough. And so we start to have this mind frame that's not what it's about. You see, when we're following Jesus, we don't ever have to worry if he is enough. We don't ever have to worry if he's given us enough. We don't ever have to worry if we're enough. He already says it. And why would we worry when the birds of the air are taken care of and the lilies of the fields are dressed? If you don't know what that means, I want to paint this picture for you real quick. See, he created everything. He created everything. I don't know about you, but sometimes, and I know we talked about this a few months ago, but sometimes we take for granted what he created. We think the grass that's about to turn green just magically happens. Or the beautiful trees that go through the process that we have here of going from limbs to having leaves to turning these beautiful colors of orange and red and yellow just happens on their own. He created them to do that. That's dressing the things that he created. That's putting on their clothes. That's giving them the beauty that he created them to have. So why would he not do something far more for the one that he cherishes, the one that he values, the one that he gave everything up for? It's because of this. John 10:10. Y'all have probably heard this. This is a coffee mug quoted scripture. A thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. But I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly. The abundantly is something that I think that we look over. We just say that scripture and we move on. When we talk about life, we talk about the things of life that make us happy, the things in life that make us that make our eyes go, wow, that make us excited. But we forget about that word at the end, that we get to have life abundantly. Because the issue is that when we worry about the month that we still have left, when our money has ran out, puts us into this scarcity mindset. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about what that means. But scarcity says, I don't have enough. I'll never have enough. I'll never be good enough. But the Bible says, and Jesus spoke clearly, that he came, no matter what the devil tells us, no matter what people tell us, no matter what the world tells us, that he came so that we can have life and we can have it abundantly. And the abundant mindset says, no, maybe you yourself aren't enough. But because of me, because of the life that I have blessed you with, you get to be enough. You get to have enough. I will constantly be pouring out my blessings on you and making sure that you have enough. And so those are mindsets. So there are two different mindsets that we get to decide which one are we going to have. Are we going to live in worry and doubt and fear and scarcity? Or are we going to live with this wonderful knowledge of knowing that we are blessed? The wisdom of knowing that God loves us no matter where we're at in life. This wonderful, abundant life that we get to live in freedom with because He's blessed us. But there's something else that Jesus teaches about. This is the hard part. This is the part where it falls onto us. Stewardship. That's the second thing. If you're taking notes, write that down. So He teaches us about worry and how that we shouldn't worry. But He gives us this. He says, now you've got to figure out how it fits. You have to figure out what it looks like for your life. You have to understand how to handle what I've given you. And that's being a steward. You say, well, what is a steward? So I looked up this week, what is the steward? And it's actually rooted back to the Greek word, oikonomos, which means the manager of a household. How many of you all would say that you're a manager of a household? Okay, perfect. Yes, you are. Maybe you manage people at your work. Maybe you manage things. Maybe as yourself you go, I'm a mom or a dad. Well, you are definitely a steward because you are managing your household. You are managing the money that you make. All of those things add up to being a steward. And so we get to see as I really dove into what does that actually mean, because I think we throw that around. Oh, we're called to be good stewards of what God has blessed us with. And I love when stuff is thrown around because it makes me dig. I love to dig into things that are common, because I think things that are common are often forgotten. And so I wanted to put this out to you real quick, is that in general, to steward is simply to manage something on someone else's behalf. That's as easy as it is. You get to manage something on someone else's behalf. For instance, if you're a manager at your work and you manage your job and you manage people, that's not yours. You're not the owner of the business, but you get to manage it. You get to steward it. They give you the responsibility, say, I'm putting you in charge. If it fails, who does it fall back on? It generally falls back on the person in charge. Same thing goes with our cake. We've been given this cake. It's not ours. And some people go, well, yes, it is. I made my money. We'll get to that in just a second. You might have made the money. But God created everything. And not only did He just create everything, I believe that He owns everything. And you say, well, how does God own anything? Well, all of this is His. We're just lucky to get to live here. We're just lucky to get to experience the things that He's blessed us with, that He's been generous with for us. And so that's how we get to live. See, stewardship in the Bible has to do with understanding that your life is not your own. Even down to your life. So, well, I make my decisions. We just talked about last week how parents, they don't even have a seat in the car. Now, if you weren't here last week, I'll have to catch you back up to speed. Because parents, you definitely have a seat in the car when your child's young and they're growing up, and then you get to give your kids some moments where they get to make some decisions, and you get to sit in the passenger seat. They become adults. Guess what? You get to take on this new role called guardrail. Because no one likes a backseat driver. So parents, that's where your role is. And so with this is we get to understand, and when it comes to stewardship in the Bible, we have to understand that our life, none of it is our own. None of it. Not a single part of it is our own. You see, your life is on loan from God. And with that, God calls us to do some very specific things. He calls us to give Him glory and to bring glory to others. That's what we get to do. You see, when our life, we talked about this a few months ago with our series back in November, I think it was. We talked about how God picked up the check for us. How God picked up our check. And we talked about how you know, when you get up to a cash register, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I get embarrassed on how long my receipts are. I think the same thing's true in our life. What would our receipt look like? Does our receipt, I know for me, you messed up here, you messed up there. Woo! College, you were a real winner. You ran. And so it's all of those things that maybe we failed. We feel like we failed. We've messed up. We've done something wrong. We've done something apart from God's way for our life. Then he goes, hey, I'm going to pick that up. We can't cover that. Obviously, we don't have what it takes to cover it, because our months are generally longer than our money. But God goes, it's not the money it's not the money that matters. It's me that matters. It's what I get to give you. It's life that I get to bring to you. It's me saying, I'm going to sacrifice my son, Jesus, my one and only son, Jesus, for you. For you, for me. For all of us in this room. Because he wanted us to have life. And so Jesus goes on in the Sermon on the Mount in verse 7, or in chapter 7, verse 24 through 27. This is a pretty common, and I'm sorry if I start singing this here in just a little bit, but it's a pretty common scripture passage in the Bible. It says, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like the wise man who built his house on the rock. Y'all know this one, right? The wise man who built his house on the rock. Okay. And then the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. A foundation that was strong, a foundation that was not easily broken. 26, it says, and everyone who hears these words of mine does not do them, and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. Then it goes on and it says in 27, and the rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell. And listen to this, and great was the fall of it. Because it didn't have the foundation. It wasn't founded on the rock. It wasn't founded on truth. It did not have that foundation that was not easily broken. You see, worry is never caused by Jesus. It's caused by our choices. If there's one thing that I want you to get this morning, it's that. So if you're taking notes, write it down. If you're not taking notes, write it down. Worry is not caused by Jesus. It's caused by our choices. It's caused by what we do. It's caused by what we do with the cake. What we do with the cake causes our worry. Because when we don't have the money, we go, I don't have enough. What am I going to do? Where am I going to turn? How am I going to be? How am I going to make it? What am I going to do for my kids? What is it going to look like? And that's kind of scary to some people. I know it's scary to us. We want to give our children the best life that we possibly can. You see, if we understand the two things that I've just talked about, that God, not only did he create everything, but he owns everything, we get a whole new perspective on where we get to have a part in this. It's not ours. It's not ours to handle. It's God's. And that's why this month I really don't want to dive, we're not going to be diving into tithe, we're not going to be diving into generosity, because guess what? We didn't even add those to the cake. You got no cake left for the tithe and generosity. So we got to get some other things intact before we talk about that. But I am going to hit on it just a little bit. And in our Picking Up the Check series, we talked about how through God's generosity, it allows us to be generous. We learn generosity through God first being generous to us. That's where it all starts. He was generous to us with a lot. From day one, when he created everything, he was generous. When he came after us, and he said, I'm going to meet you where you're at, no matter where that's at. I'm going to send you Jesus so that he can live and he can die on the cross for your sins, for our sins, so that we can have access to God. Because of our choices, there was a separation. Not because of his. It's the same thing that happens with worry and doubt and fear. And what happens with our hate. Our choices create the separation. Not Jesus. Not Jesus. You see, what ends up happening is when he's generous with all of that stuff, we're asked to do one thing. And we waste it. We waste his generosity because we're not willing to see the opportunity. We're not willing to see the possibility. Maybe we overlook the things that he's given us, and we overlook and we waste the time that he's given us, and we waste the resources that he's given us in order to show life, to show real life to real people. That's what we're here to do as a church, to show real life to real people through a real Savior, Jesus Christ. That's what we're supposed to do as followers of Christ. And what we do is when we say, you know what, I'm gonna waste the generosity that God has given me, we say no to that. We say no to the mission of God because we're too busy worrying. We're too busy wondering, well, what would it be like if I just had more? What would it be like if I was enough? God's already been generous. He's already been generous. More than enough. More than what we're worth. He's proven that. It's time for us to not waste it. It's time for us to not waste his generosity that he's poured out on us. This morning, as you can tell, we've got communion set up. That's part of his generosity. The generosity that we get to take part in is what he did for us. This is a remembrance factor. We get to take communion here at Real Life Church. We take communion a little differently. But before we go into communion, I want to make sure that each and every person understands the generosity in which God gave to you. That it doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter what you've said. It doesn't matter how big of a mess up you think you've made. He's more than enough. He's more than enough. Always. He gives the abundant life. That doesn't mean that we get to sit and we get to ponder, we get to worry about not having enough and being scared and timid. No, we get to live with a freedom that God is enough. He will cover each and everything. He will be with us through thick and through thin. He's never going to leave us. He will never forsake us. That's the God that we're talking about. So that we can be courageous. So that we can have strength to push on. With every head bowed and every eye closed before we take communion. See, Paul talks about the weight that communion carries. He talks about it, and he says that there's a weight that is carried to communion. The remembrance factor of what Jesus did for us. But if your heart's not right, it'd be better not to take it. Because of the weight that you get to carry when you take communion. When you remember what God did for you. How can you remember if you've never said yes? You can't remember what Jesus did for you on the cross if you've never said yes. So this morning can be your morning. This morning can be the morning where you say yes for the very first time. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's not the very first time. You say, I just need to come back. I've ran. I have drifted away. I've been too worried. I've been too fearful, thinking that I'm not good enough. If that's you this morning, no matter which category you fall in, raise your hand and put it right back down. Amen. Amen. Amen.